Chapter 2. Seya ne Seya. Hope against hope. Psst, psst. A fervent whisper came from behind the door. Nesteri reluctantly lifted his eyes from the manuscript. The faded lettering looked hazy and spellbinding in candlelight. Psst, Neri, I know you're not sleeping. Nesteri sighed, rolled up the scroll, got up, and opened the door. What? Farin greeted him with a roguish grin. His lilac eyes were full of mischief. Tay may need our help. He may desperately need it. Let me guess. Yep, it's past curfew and he's not back. He needs us, his unsung heroes, shrouded in shadows. To the rescue we shall fly. Farin chuckled. Or something of that kind. Nesteri snorted. Sure, give me a moment. He put on his boots and walked out to the corridor where Farin was waiting. Onwards to immortal glory! Shh! Farin tittered with a finger across his lips. We are on a secret mission here. They snuck down the tower's spiraling staircase, crossed the dark courtyard, and hid behind the obelisk stone by the Academy's front gate. From there, the light in the porter's window beaconed bright and clear. We can't use the same trick again, Nesteri whispered. He won't buy it. What then? Let me think. We have to fetch him out somehow. Tay is outside the gate, I can sense him. I know he is. Nesteri drummed his fingers on the stone. All right, he said in a low voice. Here's the plan. Give me a headband. What for? So he doesn't know it's me. Hurry up. Fine, fine. Farin undid his headband and handed it over to Nesteri. Listen here, Nesteri said, unfolding the band and wrapping it around to cover his face. I'll knock on the door. When the old boar opens, I'll grab his journal and run. No way he won't give a chase. You pinch the keys and let Tay in, yeah? Neri, you genius, Nesteri smirked. Working on it. Farin was about to say something, but suddenly the earth shook and the sky turned into flame, and the horror of the fall was upon them again, the fights and the fires, and the blackened academy ruins resounded with the cries of the dying. Nesteri, help me! Farin yelled as a horde of demonoids seized him. Help me! Nesteri leapt forward, but there was only darkness. He woke up with a start, heart beating heavily in his chest. It was a dream, Nesteri said to himself, trying to calm down. Just a bad dream. He rubbed his face. The vision was unsettlingly real. It was pouring down with rain the next day, and the day after too. Alone in the flat, Hagel leaned over his notebook, sketching. Line by line, once familiar landscapes and mythical beasts came to life under his pencil. Drawing was his therapy. It pulled his mind away from the throbbing pain in his right thigh and the frustration of being trapped in this alien world. The star dreamt to be an artist from a young age. Had he have a say, it would have been his past, no doubt. His family's position had demanded him to become a warrior, though, and duty came above all else. There was some quiet peace and dignity in knowing that he did the right thing. Without question, he would never equal Tay. Still, Hagel strived to do his best, even now when there was nobody to make proud anymore. Firm resolve was like an oath to himself, he believed. Once made, it should be followed through. His warrior training at the academy had taught him many things, and this was one. He must have been sketching for a long time. His fingers started getting numb. Hagel flexed his hand and stretched with a sigh. The room was swathed in deepening shadows. And rain. He'd rather it didn't mirror his mood quite that well. This curse is as never-ending as our stay here. The star gazed blankly into space, playing with the pencil. Farin's silence was ominous. He must be alive since his part of the crystal didn't... Light, why not at least give us a sign, a message? Days passed by bringing no answers. Hagel prayed, that they would find Farin before demonoids do. It had always baffled him why the dark stars wouldn't leave them in peace. You fight someone who has crossed your way, someone who has wronged you or yours. Why bother chasing strangers? All that ridiculous effort just to hunt us down. What for? What have we done to deserve that for the Regis' sake? Master Ulcer might have known. Their teacher did know. The Quarter's more than a fair share of dangers was not because of what they did, but who they were. Light stars, their very presence weakened the shadow. Just like all area warriors, the Quarter stood as silent guardians on the border between the worlds, and for as long as they existed, the darkness could not pass. It was no wonder that the shadow vehemently wished them dead. Here and in other places where they stayed, strange things had started happening since their arrival. In mystifying ways, serenity and good fortune had entered the life of those living nearby, a blessing spell. The Quarter would be quite surprised if they could find out. The drops of rain carried the last of daylight, quivered and washed it away. Hagel got up from the desk. He poured himself a glass of water and stood by the window, the look in his lilac eyes pensive and deep. The energy from his hands transfused into the water, filling it with minute glints of blue. Tip-tap, tippity-tap, whispered the rain. Hagel turned away. He needed rest. Standing was still painful. The leathery coldness of the sofa was all comfort that their dwelling had to offer. The star put the empty glass away, sat down, and closed his eyes, meditating. A heartbeat later, a sliver of glittering light, his fragment of the crystal, appeared in front of him. Trembling shine filled the room, shrouding Hagel with a glow. He seemed asleep. His thoughts drifted to times and places far away. The golden dust of memory brought back visions of home. Saltarian and the luminous gardens by his family manor shimmered in his mind. So many happy summers had he spent there as a child, together with his parents and his sisters. Later, he would have ventured on his own, a book or a sketchpad in his hand, to get merrily lost amongst the trees, the grass, the streams, drinking in the warm afternoon breeze, heady and ringing with birdsong. Only a dozen miles away lay the capital, Vence Marianne, a graceful city of white stone and girdled by crystal mountains. Hagel remembered his first trip there, excited and wide-eyed, dazed by the colors and sounds of the streets. He walked clinging to his mother's hand, a timid 4 years old. The gemstones in her necklace were green and aquamarine, just like the sky above. Hagel knew he would never see it again. The staggering glass tower of the bookshop reigned over 9 floors. It was a perfect place to get lost. Without extended perception, finding anyone in this maze would be a quest. Anyone except Tai. The captain would get stuck on the 3rd floor in the music section. Again, Nesteri deducted. He took the curious narrow steps that moved by themselves and went down. His guess was right. Having sensed Nesteri's presence, Tai raised his head and pulled his headphones off. What? Nesteri sat, handing his phone over. Though no groups have claimed responsibility as yet, last night's explosion is believed to be a terrorist attack. No casualties have been reported. An investigation continues, the article read. Tai raised his eyebrows. Creative. Weird, isn't it? A smirk touched the corners of Nesteri's lips. Yeah, well, we're lucky that they didn't figure it out. Would be a bloody bother. Tai handed the phone back. You good? Nesteri nodded at the album cover displayed on the machine. "'Twas all right. Something called Reflections. The singer has a cute voice." She looks like Hagal's older sister. Huh, well spotted. Yeah, she does a bit, yeah, funny. Tay suddenly looked pensive. Let's grab some drinks before we go. Sure. Even in this weather, the usual queue downstairs did not get any shorter. From the open doors, the breeze brought in evening freshness and the scent of rain. A smiley girl in uniform with a dark green apron hastily approached them with menus. Already know what I'm ordering, Nesteri said. Tay, you should really try it. No way, I'm not drinking that green frothy stuff. But it's actually quite... No, it's my final word. I'm having a juice. Fine, Nesteri shrugged. Really, you should give it a go one day. Maybe. But today is not the day. They walked upstairs and took seats by the huge glass wall. It opened to a busy crossing, glistening in street lights. Dusk was falling. Shadows, subtle at first but deepening with every passing moment, enveloped the city. The strangest place we've ever been to, Nesteri uttered melancholically, watching the scattered beads of umbrellas down below. He held the cup in his hands for a few moments, then took the lid off. Tiny green bubbles covered its surface. Tay gave him a sidelong look, but said nothing. Forbidden memories, uninvited, intruded his mind. Memories of another rain and another planet, of running together with her, holding hands drenched to the core and laughing. Damn! Light and all gods, not now. Tay pressed his lips together. He played with the straw, forcing the vision away before Nesteri might notice. He didn't need to be reminded of how much of a failure he was. To Tay's relief, Nesteri was still looking at the crossing. That article earlier, he continued. It's curious how locals make things up just to comfort themselves. I've been noticing it for a while now. They don't tend to stand up against the shadow. They just let it spread. What if they don't know how? Tay answered, sipping his juice. His face was calm again. Come to think of it, we haven't met anyone trained in our kind of combat. True. Hard to imagine they don't have area warriors, though. Surely they must have. Maybe they keep it secret here. Seems like it. But meeting them would be fun. We could probably learn something. You think? There is always an opportunity to learn if you look for it. Nesteri got up, deftly threw his cup in the recycling bin, and zipped up his jacket. I like this word, he suddenly remarked out of context. What word? Tay asked, confused. Moeru. It's nice, the way it sounds. Nesteri pointed at the label by the bin, which said burning. Never thought of it. Your mind works in the weirdest ways. Paying attention is a good habit. They left the bookshop, opening their umbrellas to the busy patter of raindrops. The GR station sign across the road shimmered green. So annoying, this weather. Nesteri mused idly while waiting for the lights to change. I wish I could command the rain to stop, as our teacher did. Reality is energy, he used to say, all of it. I should have listened properly back then. Still, what if I have a go? Fueled by curiosity, Nesteri focused and sent a mental impulse as if he were to fight, imagining the sky clearing out. He waited for a moment, then opened his eyes and looked expectantly around. Nothing. The dark curtain of water remained unperturbed. Meh, I guess it doesn't work that way. Never mind. Stars walked over the crossing, their clothes and umbrellas gilded by the dance of neons. The crowd passed by, nameless, wet, and silent. As soon as they entered the station, the rain stopped. It was almost midday, long past their usual exercise time. Nesteri, his hair up, was training alone, perfecting movements time and time again. Their bedroom's slippery tatami floor added a level of difficulty he enjoyed. According to Hagal, who kept the record of days, 3 long years has passed since the fall of Seltarion, but Nesteri didn't feel their fighting skills had improved much. Academy warrior training, broken midway by the war, would have taken another 4 years to complete. I wonder what we could have learned. A knock on the door snapped him out of his meditative state. What's up, Tay? Stop straining yourself, you maniac. What do you want? Come, I need your brain. Nesteri scowled. All right, be with you in a bit. He went through his sequence once more, and then again, lightning fast. A passing smirk touched his lips. Speed felt good. The living room was bathed in the early afternoon sunshine. Under the desk, buried under the might of crumpled paper, towered Tay's strong shoulders in a tight red top. Here, some ideas from Hagal, he said as Nesteri walked in. Sure. Dressed in his usual black and grey, Nesteri came closer. His hair was still dripping wet after the shower, but he didn't care. See what you think. Nesteri took the page and glanced through the lyrics. Good. Not sure about this part, though. Which part? Hagal looked over his laptop screen. Song will light embers in the night skies long before we get killed for the fire in our eyes. He winced as he read it out. Say, this must be the most depressing lines you've ever written. This planet definitely has a bad effect on you. Hagal shrugged. Not a criticism, just don't like the idea of getting killed. I'd rewrite this bit. Fine with me. Hagal agreed lightly, returning to his writing. Do what you want. Mind if I grab a tea across the road? Nesteri stretched and ruffled his hair. Yes, I do mind, Tay said with a frown. We've got the dumb demonoids on our tail. I'll be fine. It will take them time to come back. We don't know that for sure. Oh, come on, you make it sound a bigger deal than it really is. I'm only going round the corner. I still don't like it one bit, Tay grimaced. He paused and crumpled a sheet of paper in a bowl. Take your phone with you. Nesteri smiled a roguish smile. Aye, Captain. He slung his jacket on and snuck out before Tay could change his mind. Moments later, he was already downstairs. The entrance door closed behind him with a clang. The warrior threw the hood over his face. Not everyone knew their band, but his golden green eyes often attracted more attention than he wished for. Outside, a warm breeze whispered of spring and promises. Nesteri took a deep breath. A fleeting feeling of quiet joy washed over him. His escapade was both silly and dangerous, he knew, but the reward, the precious time alone, was worth it. Having others always around was tiresome. It was as if an invisible wall surrounded him, a spell of solitude. Over the years, he made peace with the thought of being a stranger wherever he went. Somehow, he could never truly relate to others. Nobody could see into his way of thinking either. There wasn't much to do but to accept it, and after a while, he had stopped trying. Curiously, being on his own felt less lonely somehow. For as long back as he could remember, even his family had treated him as if he were an untimely guest. Polite, but always cold. Not quite the way to raise the only heir, many would say. Since childhood, his pet raven Dra had been the only soul Nesteri felt close to. Maybe that's why he liked stopping by this little shrine. Hidden away in the labyrinths of sleepy streets, it offered soothing peace and some strange magic he could never quite describe. The entrance was flanked with a row of long white banners. The image of a three-legged crow trembled in the wind as though flapping its wings. The star stepped through the ornate gate, darkened with age. He briefly wondered, not for the first time, what the gold characters inscribed on it meant, but their shape was beyond his ability to decipher. The inner courtyard was filled with sunshine and leafy whispers. Nesteri looked around. There was something irresistibly enchanting about the modest simplicity of the statues, the wooden pillars, steps, and roofs. They seemed to be silent reminders, sentinels of some other world, the era of virtue and wisdom. They spoke of fearless armies and rulers in golden robes, of sacred rituals and ancient legends. Unexplainably, their tales resounded deep inside Nesteri's heart. They kindled the feeling of comradeship and belonging, as though the unnamed warriors of old reached to him through the centuries and parsecs, welcoming him as their own. As though he wasn't merely a stranger, a rootless wanderer with no place to call home. No anymore, not here. This land has a warrior's soul, he mused, pensively lowering his head. True warriors always recognize their kind. He stopped by Tamizuya, a long stone basin by the entrance gate. The water gurgling out of the bronze dragon's head was strewn with pale pink blossom. Nesteri picked up a long ladle and took a scoop, respectfully observing the custom everyone here followed. The pleasant coolness of water trickled down his hands, spattering his leather bracelet with a constellation of droplets. I'll take this as a blessing. The main shrine, framed with a wooden platform, was decorated with a weighty rope of whitened straw, festooned with paper streamers. Small roof lamps sparkled golden in the sun, a sublime contrast with the rich green of the trees. The central doors flung two imposing paper lanterns that bore the image of the crow. Nesteri's curious mind led him to discover that the mysterious bird was called Yatagarasu, or the eight-span crow, and that it served as a divine guide to the legendary first emperor of this realm, over 2,000 years ago. Surreal as it was, he liked the warm familiarity of that myth. It reminded him of the Laerian tale of King Elu and the silver hawk that showed his army a secret path out of the Nunavian marshes. The local lore sounded even better. He lingered, contemplating the hair-to twines of the Shimenawa robe. Nesteri doubted that the raven god of a foreign world would be benevolent to him for any reason, yet he was hesitant to leave. The sacredness of this place nourished the soul. Finally, he sighed, threw his arm across his chest in the Seltarionese manner, bowed, and sprightly walked back onto the street. Annoying Tai wouldn't be a clever thing to do, particularly now. To his relief, the cafe was almost empty. A youngster with green hair typed frantically in the corner, oblivious to all else, his tired gaze fixed on his laptop screen. Two ladies, older and petite, chatted and tittered by the table nearby, showing each other something in a glossy magazine. Nobody noticed when he came in. "One matcha latte, no sugar, please." The curious mixture of milk and herbal powder tasted better than one might have expected. Nesteri took the narrow staircase upstairs, sat by his favorite bench table by the window, and cupped the mug, thoughtful. As soon as that, green gleam flowed out of his hands, altering the tea's essence to be safe. The quarter had to do it with all the food and drink here. He remained motionless for a while, absently watching people outside, then took a pen out of his pocket and pulled a few napkins from the little plastic box on the table. Drawing random patterns always helped him organize his thoughts. Farin had been silent for too long. Nesteri started suspecting that he might have ended up somewhere remote, perhaps even on a different continent. But where? How long could he survive on his own? What happened if... Nesteri forbade himself to worry about it. Worry was a waste of energy. Even worse, it meant not being in the moment. For a warrior, a costly mistake. Stay present with what is. Accept it as it is. Act as if you were waiting for it, their teacher would say. Nesteri forbade himself to worry, and yet that new coldness crept into his thoughts more and more often as days slipped by. Before we get killed for the fire in our eyes. The star rubbed his face. There was something genuinely disturbing about those words. His gaze fell on the napkin strewn with doodles, and Nesteri blinked in disbelief. What in the Regis name? He had no memory of drawing those. There was the Academy's crest, with a peculiar key-shaped squiggle next to it. His family's coat of arms, the 7-point septenary symbol encircled with random Celtarionese runes, and many, many more he couldn't even recognize. He blinked again, perplexed. Weird. When? How come I don't recall? His finger obliviously traced the septagram. He could swear the emblem lit up at his touch. Blue glow shimmered and waned. Nesteri's eyebrows went up. He shook his head. I really need more sleep. Confirmed. He pushed the napkin into his pocket and was about to get up. What? His brain caught in his throat. He couldn't move. His legs were paralyzed, nailed to the floor by some hellborn force. Startled, he jolted and looked around. A boy of maybe 9 stood to his right, studying him with a mix of curiosity and indifference. His eyes were pupilless and all black. The kid wasn't there a moment ago, Nesteri was sure of it. I was ordered to take you down, the boy announced without parting his lips. The big belly hanging over his loincloth didn't seem to belong to a child. Nesteri let out a swishing sigh. They won't like this, a thought shot through his mind. The enemy was unlike any demonoid he had seen. Who are you? Oni, if that's of interest, now die. Nesteri felt as if a noose was sharply yanked around his neck. He gasped for air in vain. The world was slowly turning dark. A heartbeat later, a sudden memory from his training flashed before his eyes, a similar drill that Master elsewhere had tirelessly run them through. A long time had passed since, but Nesteri's trained lungs served him well. He focused his energy and sent a merciless circle of blast spreading around like a fiery ring. That shattered the paralyzing spell. Oni snarled, his burnt face twisted with rage and shock. Resistance clearly came as a surprise. His body bulged, new limbs and faces bursting through. The star jerked from his seat, throwing his hand up for a new blow. Yet before he could strike, Oni's monstrous figure quivered and then faded as unexpectedly as it appeared. Nesteri frantically checked the room, ready to face more enemies whatever their number may be. This was no good. He had to let Tay know. Now! He reached for the phone in his back pocket. In the next moment, though, he slowly withdrew his hand. He realized he was alone. The Oni seemed to have given ground. Thank all gods for that. Nesteri took a long exhale to calm his heartbeat down. What the frigging hell? What was that? Never mind, all thinking later. He scanned the room again just to make sure. It was quiet. A lucky ending, I guess. The star eyed the chairs and tables blackened with burns. A sting of guilt for the damage passed through him. He set his lips. Well, almost lucky. Apologies. There was no time to lose. Nesteri slung his mug on the returns shelf and swiftly walked down before anyone might notice. At the door, he tarried and looked at the young girl behind the counter. Busy with the coffee machine, she didn't see him leaving. Perfect timing. Nesteri focused and sent a mental command that she had to forget him. Forget that he visited this place, today or ever. He hoped wholeheartedly that it would work. His mental induction skills were merely fair, having begun his training less than half a year before the fall. He was better at it than the rest of the guys, he was repeatedly told, but that didn't add to his confidence. Light, do make this work. Nesteri touched his ear for good luck. Casually, to avoid attention, he turned and ambled away, pulling his phone out as a local would do. It was dead. The force of the energy blast had baked the wires inside. Damn, Tay will be mad. Nesteri tossed the phone in his fingers. That award thing was an invitation for trouble after all. His way home was carpeted with fallen cherry petals. 2 more weeks passed. The 4th month of the year was almost over. In the gold afternoon sunshine, skyscrapers gleamed with all their might of steel and glass. You know, the only thing I like about here, Tay said as they were walking down a busy street in Shibuya, are those shiny towers. Remind me of Marian Crystal Mountains, only smaller. Hagel grimaced at the blasphemy. What a daft thing to say. Nothing in this world could compare to their lost homeland. Nothing. Hold on a sec. Nesteri turned on the spot as a vending machine caught his eye. Be right back. He returned with a grin on his face and a paper cup of matcha latte in his hand. Feeding your addiction again? Tay snorted. You'll turn green before you know it. That's how you usually look in the morning, Nesteri teased him. Should be a familiar sight. Get off. I haven't been drunk since the fall, not once. Nesteri focused for a moment, transferring his energy into the tea. A sip, anyone? Cheers, not a fan. I'm good too, Hagel replied, somewhat reticent. Nesteri shrugged. More for me. What a delight to see you! Startled, the quarter turned their heads. A man was squeezing to them through the crowd, waving and smiling. His face and his black jacket with a standing collar looked oddly familiar. I hope you're well, he asked, walking up. It's been a little while. Mr. Ito? Tay recognized the guard from the eventful evening in Yokohama. It's me indeed. I'm honored you remember my name, Ito replied with a slight nod of his head. What a lucky serendipity that I happen to be on my lunch break now. Do you live around here? We don't, Tay responded curtly, taken aback by the somewhat excessive cordiality from a man who was little more than a stranger. Oh, I see. Well, Shibuya is wonderful for shopping, and for meeting friends too. Speaking of which, I hope you're not too busy right now. Why? Nesteri asked. I'd love to introduce you to someone. A dear friend of mine, he's about your age. He keeps saying how much he wants to meet you. It seems very important to him. Tay's gaze hardened. What does he look like? Is he a foreigner? No, I mean yes, Ito corrected himself hastily, watching the quarter. Yes, his Japanese is so good that sometimes I forget. He's very much like you. The warriors exchanged glances. They had no reason to distrust Ito, but there was something covertly unsettling about the way he spoke. Something that stank of deceit. Why would he lie to them, though? The quarter studied the man again. He seemed like any other passerby. Perhaps he was just trying to cover up his shyness, and they were reading too much into it. What's his name? Tay asked finally. His tone betrayed emotion, and Ito sensed it. Let it be a surprise, he smiled mysteriously. Why don't you ask him in person? He's at my office right now, only a short walk from here. It would be my pleasure to introduce you. He paused and gave the warriors an expectant look. Would you like to follow me? We need to think about it, Tay said. Excuse us while we adjust our plans, Nesteri answered more politely. This seems a bit too good to be true, he added in Celtarianese. What if he found Farin like he found us? I think he's lying, Nesteri said, sipping his tea. Why, what would be the point? The Regi only knows. It doesn't feel right for some reason, Hagel said. True that, Tay admitted slightly hesitantly, but we owe it to Farin to at least give it a go. If his friend is a random local, we just walk away. Can't be much more than that. We lose nothing. Imagine if Farin is actually waiting for us there. Those words worked like a magic spell. Even Hagal's face had brightened up. I'm in, he said almost in unison with Nesteri. Please show us the way, Tei said to Ito in Japanese. Behind the busy avenue, a web of smaller streets was walled by look-alike grey offices, plagued by thick wall cables overhead. Just as Ito promised, his office wasn't far. Shortly, the party turned the corner and stopped by a plain back door. There was no logo and no company name, but Ito clearly knew where he was going. He hastily pressed the code lock, opened the door wide and bowed. After you. His mouth twitched in a smile as he ushered the quarter in. My friend will be delighted. The room was narrow, small, and bland. Its only features were a pair of leather chairs and a metal staircase at the further end. The quiet buzzing of the fluorescent lamps filled the air. Ito frowned, clearly surprised, as though not seeing something that he had expected. Ma! He growled with sudden anger in his voice. Yes! A young man in waiter's garb hurried from the corridor balancing a tray. His face was anxious and contrite. Moshiwake gozaimasen! I terribly apologize. So sorry for keeping you waiting. Welcome! He offered the tray filled with champagne. Thin strands of bubbles rushed inside the flutes. Ito met the waiter with a dark glare, but when he turned back, a suave smile was on his lips again. Please accept this, he said, offering the flutes, as a sign of our hospitality. Don't! Nesteri whispered quickly in Celtarinese. Tei nodded, and his eyes became very narrow. We don't drink, he said brusquely, a blatant lie. He put his flute back on the tray. Ah, that's a shame, Ito said with a hint of nervousness. But perhaps you may change your mind later. Mo, come with us. Where to? Tei asked. To meet my friend, naturally. He's waiting. He already knows. Come, you expected. Ito gestured to the quarter as he walked down the staircase. And there are others who would love to meet you too. Yes, that's right, he muttered, fidgeting with the metal fire door at the bottom of the stairs. A large number 3 was painted on it in red, beneath the hardly noticeable sign of an inverted triangle with an arrow crossing it. Rusty old thing. Sorry you have to wait. Oh, there. The waft of air came with the stench of mold. I'm not going. Hagel spoke for the first time. Someone waited downstairs, and their intent was far from kind. All 3 could sense it. I'm afraid you will have to. Ito began, but in the next moment, Tei shoved him aside hard and kicked him in the fist. A blade flashed in electric light as it flew out of Ito's hand. The knife hit the floor, slid and swirled. The ringing of broken glass came right after. Mo swung his tray towards Nesteri's chest. A breath too slow. A heavy strike in the groin landed the waiter on the mess of shivers, whimpering. As soon as that, deep downstairs pounded with the sound of steps. Tei jumped to the door, slammed it shut, and turned the key. Heavy thumping thundered from the inside. Who are you, and what do you want from us? Tei barked, locking Ito in a chokehold. Ito didn't answer, and Tei forced him down. What do you want from us? He repeated. Hagal knocked Mo unconscious with a knife-hand strike, snatched his belt, and tied up his hands at the back. The man's hair was dripping with champagne and blood. We must get out, Nesteri threw over his shoulder. He was already at the top of the stairs. Tei! Will you talk? Tei snarled at Ito, glowering. He pushed the man around and held his skinny neck with one hand. Talk! Ito suddenly slumped under Tei's gaze. Mental induction seemed to have worked at last. I do what my boss tells me, he mumbled flatly. I had orders. The noise behind the door stopped. Tei! Nesteri called. Tay sighed, stroked the man senseless, and quickly patted his pockets. There was nothing there except the card holder. Tay opened it, took one card out, and put the holder back. Finally, he tied it up, and in a few large jumps joined Hagal and Asteri. The entrance door closed softly behind them. They ran to the closest corner, then turned and slowed down to avoid attention. There was another side street and another, until the stars came out to a larger avenue. The attackers didn't give a chase, or so it seemed. "How did you know the drinks were spiked?" Tay asked, finally remembering to adjust his shirt. "I was trained as a healer," Nesteri shrugged dismissively. "Now, show me what you've got." "Oh yeah." Tay pulled a creased business card out of his back pocket. "Progress Inc. Ito Satoshi, Deputy Manager," it said, followed by phone numbers. There was no address. Nesteri thoughtfully fiddled with the card before handing it back to Tay. Why would a deputy manager serve as a simple meet and greet at some music awards? This makes no sense. We must find out who they are. He scanned the street. People walked past, absent, absorbed with their own lives. "We may be watched. There is a park just over there. Shall we?" "Sure," Tay nodded. "Look, just look, it's them!" An excited young voice suddenly shouted close by. "No way!" Someone else answered. "I'm telling you, it's them!" A group of girls flocked to surround the quarter, some squeezing close, the rest frantically taking photos. "Autographs! Autographs, please!" The girls chirped all at once as they swirled around with their phones and notebooks. Attention spread like a fever, drawing new onlookers in. His face became tense. "This is no good," he muttered, watching the gathering grow. "We must get out. Split. See you in the park." He ducked and disappeared into the crowd. "Hagal, go left. I'll go right," Nesteri said, throwing the hood over his face. Somebody caught him by the wrist, but the star deftly freed himself. "Now!" Both vanished as quickly as shadows, leaving only puzzlement behind. "Shinobi?" a confounded girl's voice said. A tranquil bliss of green by the riverside, the park opened before the stars with trembling lace of sun rays filtering through the leaves. It seemed out of place amongst the stifling maze of asphalt that encircled it. White azalea blossoms trembled in the wind. Nesteri pulled out his new phone and opened the search. The star scrolled, his eyes moving fast between the lines. He frowned. "What?" Tay threw him a curious glance. Nesteri read out. "We are the sentinels of society, the protectors of rules. We shall not rest until all rebels are subdued. While you work hard to serve your country every day, your enemy is asking questions. He threatens the good order. Beware of question askers." "What's the twaddle?" Progress Inc. "How the hell did we threaten their order?" "We don't quite fit in," Nesteri said with a passing smirk. "I guess we have upset their equilibrium somehow." "Doing what?" "Breathing," Nesteri snorted. "Either that or they took us for someone else." "But they're not demonoids. I don't understand." "Light preserve us," Hagal said wearily. "This planet is even shadier than it appeared at first." "Let's wait till dusk," Tay told them. A small fountain on the path tinkled with restless glitter. The star contemplated the splashing water for a moment. "If they're on our track, we don't want to bring them straight home." Nesteri was still on his phone, reading, thoughtfully biting his lip. Mounting disbelief painted on his face. Finally, he switched the screen off and looked into space, his gaze distant. "What's up?" Tay asked him. "Nothing, just thinking." "What with?" "Shut up." "Come on, don't be shy." "Can tell you if you want, but it may sound odd." Nesteri tossed the phone in his hand. Most things you say sound odd. Gone. It doesn't seem like the whole thing is run by humans, Nesteri said slowly. Even back at that guy's office. Did you see the mark above the door? Tay shook his head. What mark? No, I didn't. Haggle, you? No. Although the whole place oozed with the shadow energy, that's true. And it was sealed. Someone there knew how to put up energy shells. You're right, Tay snapped his fingers. It did make me wonder, but I was too busy to think well there. They don't have photos on the website, Nesteri continued, but it all sounds wrong. From what I could make out, their founders might be Dark Stars, Tay finished for him. Nesteri nodded. So it seems. Sweet. Haggle rubbed his face. So they have stationary demonoids here. Excellent. Just what we needed. It's only a guess, Nesteri said. But if I'm correct, it would explain a lot. Haggle leaned back against the bench and closed his eyes, trying to push away the horrible thought of Farian being a prisoner somewhere. I hate this planet, he muttered bitterly. I wish we never ended up here. So do I, Tay turned to him. But guess what? He put his hand on Haggle's shoulder. You'll never find another Celtarian, you know? The past never comes back. Stay focused on the future, friend. We're alive, and it's all that matters. I know, Tay. Haggle tiredly opened his eyes. Trust me, I know it all. It's just... If we had to get stranded for ages, light and all gods, I wish it could be somewhere else. With you on that, Tay replied. Can't be long now. Empty words, but he wanted to believe in them. This is weird like hell and then some, he added after a pause, changing the subject. How? How could the locals bond with demonoids? I don't think they bonded with them, Nesteri responded. They might not have had a choice. Ito mumbled something about orders. Besides, his green eyes flashed. Have you seen any Aries here? Me neither. Huh, you're right. That didn't cross my mind. Wonder that Dark Stars run riot since there is nobody to fight them? That can't be, Tay frowned. Surely they must have. Before he finished, Nesteri jerked his head to look behind, scanning the park with quick and cautious gaze. Wait! What? Tay asked quickly. I could swear, Nesteri muttered, turning back. I could swear someone had just been there watching us. All three looked at where Nesteri pointed, checking it with their extended senses. The park was quiet. On the empty alley, the breeze tossed fallen leaves. Nearly believed you for a moment, Tay snorted. A stupid joke, but timing for it too. There is no one there. There was. Gone now, you're too slow. Too slow to catch up with your paranoia? Look, maniac, relax. If there was anyone, we could both sense it. Haggle? Haggle shook his head. The furtive appearance eluded me, I'm afraid. But there really... Nesteri processed it, but now there was no certainty in his voice. Maybe a trick of the light. Tay rubbed his face. He suddenly seemed weary. Locals don't move that fast. Clearly not a demonoid too. And those bastards never waste time sneaking in bushes. Oh, I know. That's it. They ran before they would catch the stupid bug from you. Well, Tay, you are living proof that there is naught to fear. You had it from birth. Nesteri jested back. You just can't handle it that I outshine you in every way. You bet. I couldn't even dream of that rare intelligence of yours. That cut deep. A shadow of memory darkened Tay's face. He knew exactly what Nesteri meant. The hidden mockery in his voice rang clear. Tay pressed his lips together. I'll let you off this time.